Okay, thanks, Graham. Okay, I've brought my speaking stick, the gift from this morning. Fitting to use it already. I'll put it down because I'm holding my microscope, and plus I won't need to throw it at anyone, according to this morning's demonstration. So, don't look at the slide yet. I just wanted to say, to begin with, that it's pretty obvious that you don't need to believe in climate change in order to adapt to it. There's no risk in adapting to climate change, as we've seen today. There's no reason not to be better prepared for drought or for a change in markets or for a change in biosecurity, such as an incursion of a new pest. So that said, there's also lots of evidence that we do have drought and biosecurity incursion and so on. There's no deniers of those changes. So what we did in the Southeast, we've been developing natural plans for our natural resources over the last 3 years on a landscape scale. So we have in the Southeast, Mount Gambier, Narrow Caves area we've just been talking about, we have 3 main types of landscape. We've got the primary production landscape, which I'll be talking about today. We've got the urban / industrial landscape, and we have the natural landscape. So for all of these, we've developed these state and transition models you can see up in the slide. I've put up a very simplified version. Most landscapes, unless you're very lucky or very unlucky, will be somewhere on that horizontal blue line between the desired state and the undesired state. So how did we populate these circles? How did we identify what the primary production landscape, what desired landscape do we have? And we're trying to be practical. We don't want some pie in the sky landscape. And how do we identify the stressors? We're no primary production experts, and how do we identify those interventions or adaptation actions that they can take? So we did it by talking to over 2,000 people over the last 2 years in the Southeast. And in the case of primary production, we went to primary production groups, to their meetings, and asked them, why do you farm here? Why do you make wine? What keeps you in the region? What do you love about your landscape? And by using sticky notes and conversation, we got them to create this box and line diagram on butcher's paper, the livestock industry, for example, up there with the funky cow and sheep, and got them to draw the lines. We then took it away and created these box and line diagrams, took them back to them to make sure they were accurate. They actually really, really appreciated this exercise. This is the first time they've actually been consulted on how their industry, that is keenly dependent on natural resources, and they pay a levy for this, operates. It's the first time we've really looked into it. So we asked them, once we looked at that box and line diagram, what if the climate changes? And we showed them the Goiter Institute climate change predictions and asked them, what actions would you take to continue your industry? So they identified all these actions, which are shown up there in those colored dots. The different colors are actually actions for us as natural resources managers, actions for them as primary producers, and actions for others, such as local government and universities or research institutes. Those actions now form part of these sub-regional action plans that we've developed, and they're at a smaller scale than the entire region and more relevant to the communities in that area. So, and it's worth noting that there's a number of actions, a lot of them actually, from these plans that are actually underway already. I mean, these guys, they're onto it. We are not running out of wine, as was demonstrated earlier in Coonawarra, and we're not running out of lamb chops in the Southeast. So, the next step with all of this is to actually turn these actions into projects. So during May, we've got 4 meetings scheduled in the subregions with the communities, and we're going to see which of those actions in their subregional action plan they want to work up into projects to be implemented in the next 12 to 36 years. So really getting this off the ground and happening. And so it's a bit, even though earlier they were saying that in the Southeast we have a lot of climate change skeptics, or that farmers are not very good at considering climate change, I have yet to find a primary producer that would ask me, what if we actually make ourselves better farmers for nothing? I mean, they believe in this and they're keen to make it happen.